let's look at the structures associated with the inner ear. So the inner ear, again, is simply some cavities found within the temporal bone. So if I remove this structure here, we can see that these literally are little cavities within the temporal bone. If I pull out the other side of the temporal bone, you can see that, again, it'd be little cavities associated with the temporal bone. So these little, this bony cavities or bony canals are known as the bony labyrinth, right? And so then what this represents in our ear model, this beige sort of plasticky stuff, represents the membranous labyrinth that lines the interior of the bony labyrinth. So we have bony labyrinth here, and then the membranous labyrinth in between. Okay. So if we look at this inner ear, we can divide the inner ear into three main areas. We have the cochlea, spiraled up, comes to a little tip, right? That's for the sense of hearing. The other two are collectively called the vestibular apparatus, and those are more associated with sense of equilibrium, or where you are three-dimensionally in space, or how you're moving three-dimensionally in space. So the two portions of this vestibular apparatus includes the actual vestibule area and the semicircular canals, because they are indeed semicircles, and they lie in three body planes, so they can tell where you're moving in all three of those planes. Okay. All right, so again, we see the area where you have the oval and the round window, that's going to be the actual vestibule. And then we have our three semicircular canals. Now, if they're the membranous labyrinth, we would call these ducts. So lining the bony cochlea, we have the cochlear duct. Lining the vestibular area, we have two vestibular sacs called the saccule and the utricle. And then here we have the semicircular ducts. You'll notice that this is innervated. This yellow portion represents the innervation. So this entire structure is the vestibulocochlear nerve. You should have learned that with your cranial nerves, right? That entire thing is the vestibulocochlear nerve. But if you look, it looks as if this vestibulocochlear nerve has two portions to it. So we have the cochlear nerve portion of the vestibulocochlear nerve, and it's going to go to the cochlea. And we have the vestibular portion of the vestibulocochlear nerve, and it's going to go to the vestibular apparatus. So you can see that it goes to the vestibular apparatus. Now, as far as the actual function of the vestibular apparatus, we often associate the actual vestibule area as being for static equilibrium, and the semicircular ducts associated with dynamic equilibrium. All right, so that's going to do it for our ear model.